Hello and welcome to the Minimum Competence episode for Friday, February 21st, 2025. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, we cover Trump's defiance of a funding order, his push for control over agencies, IRS layoffs botched by a glitch, and delays in the Corporate Transparency Act. Let's remember, the ruling ideas of each age have ever been the ideas of its ruling class, and read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, February 21st, 1975, former U.S. Attorney General John Mitchell was sentenced to prison for his role in the Watergate scandal, along with Nixon's Chief of Staff, H.R. Haldeman, and domestic advisor, John Ehrlichman. The three men were convicted of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and perjury for their involvement in the cover-up of the 1972 break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters. Mitchell, the highest-ranking U.S. law enforcement official at the time of the scandal, was sentenced to 2.5 to 8 years in prison, marking a significant moment in American legal history. His conviction underscored the principle that no one, not even top government officials, is above the law. Watergate, which ultimately led to President Richard Nixon's resignation in 1974, exposed widespread political corruption and abuses of power within the administration. Mitchell's sentencing reinforced the legal consequences of obstructing justice and abusing executive power. Though he served only 19 months before being released on parole, his downfall symbolized the erosion of public trust in government. The Watergate scandal also led to legal reforms, including campaign finance regulations and increased congressional oversight of the executive branch. Mitchell, once a powerful political figure, spent his later years largely out of the public eye. His case remains a key example of how legal accountability can reach even the highest levels of government. A federal judge ruled that the Trump administration failed to comply with an order to resume USAID foreign assistance payments, but declined to hold the government in contempt. The lawsuit, brought by two nonprofits, accused the administration of ignoring a February 13th temporary restraining order meant to restart funding while a broader injunction was considered. The government argued it had discretion under existing agreements to terminate funding despite the ruling. Judge Amir Ali disagreed, finding that the administration continued to block funds in defiance of his order, though he stopped short of issuing a contempt ruling. Concerns about Trump defying court orders have grown, especially after another judge found his administration in violation of a similar ruling on domestic funding. The Justice Department claimed it complied with the order by reviewing contracts and canceling most payments, prompting the nonprofits to file a contempt motion. The case highlights ongoing legal battles over executive power and funding decisions. Recent legal and executive actions have significantly reshaped the power and independence of federal agencies and administrative law judges. President Donald Trump issued an executive order asserting greater presidential control over independent agencies like the SEC and FTC, undermining their traditional autonomy from the White House. The order requires these agencies to submit rulemaking proposals for executive review, allows the president to direct their legal interpretations, and grants the Office of Management and Budget control over agency spending. Critics argue this effectively eliminates the independent agency model Congress created to insulate regulatory bodies from political influence. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has declared the legal protections preventing the removal of administrative law judges unconstitutional, signaling a shift in how executive power may be used to reshape agency adjudication. This move follows Supreme Court rulings limiting agency authority and reflects broader conservative efforts, backed by figures like Elon Musk, to curb the regulatory state. Lawsuits over Trump's agency firings and judicial challenges to the Justice Department's stance are ongoing, setting the stage for further legal battles over executive power and regulatory oversight. The IRS planned to notify thousands of employees of their termination via email on Thursday, but a technical glitch prevented many from receiving the message. Despite the error, the terminations are proceeding, with affected employees set to receive official notices via overnight mail. The layoffs affect approximately 6,700 probationary workers as part of Elon Musk's Department of Governmental Efficiency initiative, which is implementing widespread job cuts across federal agencies. Other agencies, including the Small Business Administration and the Department of Energy, have faced similar challenges, mistakenly sending and retracting termination notices over and over again. The IRS has not indicated any reversal of its decision, stating that the cuts align with an executive order to eliminate non-critical probationary employees. The Corporate Transparency Act, or CTA, requiring U.S. businesses to disclose their beneficial owners, is set to take effect on March 21st, but uncertainty remains as legal and political challenges continue. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, announced the deadline after a court lifted the last nationwide injunction against the law, though it may still modify the rules or delay enforcement. The CTA aims to combat financial crimes by cracking down on anonymous shell companies, but businesses argue that the requirements are overly broad and burdensome. Political opposition, particularly from Republican lawmakers, has led to efforts to repeal or delay the law, with the House overwhelmingly passing a bill to push the deadline to 2026. FinCEN also faces practical difficulties, including technical issues with its filing system and uncertainty over the number of businesses required to report. While some companies have already submitted their disclosures, others remain hesitant due to confidentiality concerns. Ongoing court battles could further disrupt enforcement, leaving many businesses frustrated by the shifting legal landscape. And with that, and as always, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you're looking for more than minimum competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment, you can leave a rating or review on your podcast player. We'd sure appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly not that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever it is you get your finely crafted podcasts. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter, form. We'll see you back here on Monday, and until then, note, we like to close out the week of shows with a featured musical piece. That will make these Friday episodes seem especially long. We hope you'll stick it out and enjoy the featured piece, but if music, and specifically classical music, isn't your bag, we get it. Our mouth sounds unrelated to the week's closing music ends here. This week's closing theme is by Frédéric Chopin. Frédéric Chopin, one of the most beloved composers of the Romantic era, was born in 1810, though the exact date remains a matter of debate. Some sources claim he was born on February 22nd, while others insist it was March 1st. Regardless, his influence on classical music is undeniable. A Polish virtuoso pianist and composer, Chopin's works are celebrated for their emotional depth, intricate melodies, and rich harmonic textures. Unlike many composers of his time, he focused almost exclusively on piano music, creating some of the most poetic and technically refined pieces in the instrument's repertoire. Chopin's music was deeply personal, often reflecting his longing for his homeland after leaving Poland in 1830. His compositions blend the elegance of classical forms with the expressive lyricism of Romanticism, making his works both technically challenging and emotionally profound. His health was fragile throughout his life, and he died of tuberculosis in 1849 at just 39 years of age. Despite his short career, his music remains a cornerstone of the piano repertoire, admired for its beauty and complexity. For this week's closing theme, we turn to one of Chopin's most famous and cherished works, Nocturne No. 2 in E-flat major, Opus 9, No. 2. This nocturne captures the essence of Chopin's style: graceful, flowing melodies, delicate ornamentation, and an intimate, dreamlike atmosphere. The piece unfolds like a quiet conversation with its gently lilting rhythm and luminous harmonies evoking a sense of nostalgia and serenity. It's a perfect way to end on a reflective note, immersing us in the timeless beauty of Chopin's music. Without further ado, Frédéric Chopin's Nocturne No. 2 in E-flat major, Opus 9, No. 2. Enjoy.